Lesson 21, Knowledge of the Holy Qu'ran agrees with the pure nature of human spirit, Part 2. What attracts our attention in the Holy Qu'ran is that it has a perfect regulation in organizing the inheritance affair and the principle of dividing the inheritance, as it clarifies the inheritance dividing for offspring, sons and daughters, whatever they are, males or females, in their different cases, as if they were only females without having any male, wherein it regulates this case, illustrating it in details and its different probabilities, such as when there is one daughter, two daughters, or even more. In addition to that, the Holy Quran states the inheritance which is inherited by the parents from their dead son in each case, for example, if he has a child or not. It also clarifies the inherited portion by the mother if her dead son has a brother or not, as it clarifies the portion of inheritance which is inherited by the husband from his dead wife having a son or not. And it clarifies the portion of inheritance which is inherited by the wife from her dead husband, and when the brother inherits a sister in a special state, such as when she had any inheritors, such as sons, grandsons, parents, her parents are dead, her husband is dead, as the same for the sister in the case when she inherits her brother. The Holy Quran clarifies the rights of orphans or fatherless. Alternatively, if you contemplate deeply in that side, you'll find that the Holy Quran gives all the inheritors their rights without leaving anyone behind, according to their relation with the dead person, and also according to their duties and financial responsibility toward their family and relatives. We shall explain that in details, presenting the following example. The Holy Quran gives the male son inheritor 2 portions from his dead father's wealth, while it gives 1 portion to the female inheritor daughter. This state is indicated in the following holy fortress. Allah commands you, as regards your children, to the male a portion equal to that of 2 females. The Holy Quran, Fortress 4, An-Nisa Women, verse 11. If you contemplate deeply that regulation and the secret behind it, you will find that it is established upon very strict logical basics which depend on justice and rights, because the male's duties are grander than the female's, where he should spend money caring of his family members, his children and wife, his old father and mother. As you see, if he wants to get married, he must spend preparing everything of the life utilities to have new family, starting with giving the dowry to his wife, and supplies her with what she needs, as he must spend money caring of his parents and his relatives if they have a physical disability or they are very old, and he should spend a lot caring of his divorcee wife until she gets married or dies, unlike the female who has the dowry money and isn't charged with any responsibility. Therefore, and according to all males' duties, the Holy Quran gives him 2 portions from the inheritance. Through a simple look, you find the perfect justice in the inheritance division, and if we want to explain other inheritance division cases, we will need longer time, so we shall mention in brief some cases, such as the portion which is inherited by the mother from her son's wealth, which is equal to 1/3 of his wealth, and if the dead son has brothers, it is just 1/6. The portion of the husband, which is equal to half or 1/4 of his dead wife's wealth, it is 1/2 of the dead wife, if the dead wife has no son, but if she has a son, it is 1/4, etc. If you speculate deeply in every point of the inheritance issue, you will surely find the sublime justice in all its meaning. Moreover, the Holy Quran organizes the commandment, which gives human the ability to make a commandment, bequeathing some of his money to the needy relatives or others according to wisdom. It also clarifies the principle that should be made on traveling and having the witnesses to end all the doubts about the commandment. It also explains about the charged one who is responsible for applying the commandment, and it gives him the right to modify it if he finds injustice in it in order to adjust rights among the inheritors. Therefore, every human will be satisfied with his portion of the money, according to the justice and the caring of the private and popular benefits. I don't think that we have mentioned all the regulations in the Holy Quran, but there are many and many other regulations, as the punitive order and the international one, as it clarifies the principles of jihad and the way of Allah and the call to worship the Almighty God to rescue the humanity from its ignorance, as it talks about war and peace, the standard of the armistice and the treaty. Then it proceeds to talk about the morals in an attractive way, which every human believes to be a perfect and humane human. Actually, this attractive Quranic way makes the sincere thinker adore perfection and chastity. In general, it was sent down for the human benefit, particularly and commonly, and in all his state, whatever it was, peace or war, health or sickness, riches or poverty, dwelling or traveling, and it never left any state without clarifying it in the best perfect way for the human. Actually, if a man wants to know the benefits which are resulted from his submitting to one of the Quranic orders, Allah's orders, the great wisdom behind this divine order, he will not recognize all these benefits or wisdoms because they are unlimited and uncountable. And if all the trees on the earth were pens and the sea were ink wherewith to write, with 7 seas behind it to add to its, yet the words of Allah would not be exhausted. Verily, Allah is the Almighty, All-Wise. The Holy Quran, Fortress 31, Luqman, verse 27. What makes the Holy Quran characteristic is not just its regulation, which isn't like any other regulation in giving command to the human of what is lawful and what is forbidden. In addition to that, it puts the standards and the principles of all the issues and affairs. It also clarifies the way and steps which, if the human performs them, his spirit will be disciplined and be in a high humane rank, wherein it is prepared to accept all that divine commands in order to gain the everlasting benefit through applying them. This way is achieved by taking the straight path of belief as our master Abraham did, where you find the human is ready to submit to all the divine commands, and thus he will spontaneously apply those commands, feeling very happy and comfortable. That is because he attains the divine perfection through his true believing in the Almighty God, and he finds these divine commands coherent with his inner gained perfection. The Holy Quran The Holy Quran explains in details the side of disciplining the spirit. As it guides the human to the straight path to attain this sublime aim, it also acquaints him with his almighty provider and great creator, and illustrates to him a very important point, which is he will not get the perfection to become a perfect human unless he achieves the true believing in the statement, "There is no God but Allah," wherein he will recognize that everything in this universe exists and moves by the Almighty God's supply and permission. Therefore, nothing happens without his order and command, as he is the creator, the provider, and the controller who controls this universe and everything in it. He creates everything, brings it up, gives it its needs, moves it, supplies and provides it, and he grants the life to the universe, including all living existing beings, and its continuous getting up. As the Holy Quran insists on that matter by mentioning it in most of the Holy Quranic fortresses through many stories and examples, it mentions through many verses indicate the wonders of the divine controlling and providing of this universe to invoke the human mind to think in order to reach that sublime divine knowledge. The spirit will not be able to think until it hates the malice desires of this worldly life, abstains from this terrestrial life, and bewares from plunging in its pleasures, which increases shunning God, so it must recognize that it has an end and it will pass away, leaving this life sooner or later. Therefore, the Holy Quran puts in our hands many stories about the past nations who transgressed God's commands and sought the worldly pleasure, and so they faced distress and destruction, and now they are nothing. However, the Holy Quran is the only regulation which includes the way of the spirit disciplined and the way of achieving its divine sublime, with other commands and orders which the human must submit to in order to achieve the happiness in this life and in the life to come. I fault the humankind gather, and even the jinn with them. They would never ever come with something like the Holy Quran, which is a suffice evidence to prove that it is Allah's speech, which the Almighty Allah sent it down to the Prophet, and no human got nearness to God and got them and got the most humane perfection as the Prophet did. Therefore, he became the chosen one by God to be the bearer and deliverer of the divine revelation for all the humankind.